join me in welcoming our speakers. Andrew Nealon with OneRec, Dwayne Stiller with Woolbright Development, Doug Sullinger with Vendetta, and our own moderator, Megan Martindale with Amos and Young. Megan, thanks over to you.
Thank you. So quick show of hands, 3 questions. First one, who is using basic AI? ChatGPT, just basics, right? Okay. Who considers themselves super advanced? Not your companies, but you you personally. Okay. Who's afraid of it, not using it at all? Good. Last year, there were a few hands that went up, including mine. We have a super stellar panel, all working in very different spaces of AI. I think it's going to be really insightful. So I'm going to actually let each panelist introduce themselves and who they are and what they're working on, and then we'll kick off conversation.
All right, hey everybody, I'm Andrew Nealon with OneRec. We're a platform connecting retailers with store development vendors, sites and destinations, and just providing a lot of resources for brands looking to open stores. Previously, have always been on the brand and operator side, most notably Bonobos, before, during, and after the Walmart acquisition.
I'm Dwayne Stiller with Woolbright Development, and Woolbright is based in Boca Raton, Florida. We have bought 125 shopping centers in Florida since 2000, and we are the folks that we're a team of 60 Navy SEALs, and we like to buy, fix, and sell. Sometimes things just take lipstick and a haircut, sometimes they take a lot more work than that. So we are using technology in all aspects of transforming existing shopping centers, and I'm really excited to be here today.
I am Doug Sullinger in Vito. So I'm not a commercial real estate guy, I'm a technologist. I got over 35 years of being in the technology world and applying technology to all kinds of business problems. I've walked the halls of the General Motors building and seen how they've taken on technology. I'm just going to leave you guys with this. It's about the data. It's always going to be about the data. And every one of your AI tools you're going to go to, you've got to consider where the data is coming from. Because you can get bad data in an AI tool, and it still gives you bad.
Sorry, one housekeeping thing. Can you guys start the clock up here? Thank you. So we had some really interesting prep calls, wide variety of backgrounds, and I'm going to have Dwayne share, who was also the keynote here last year, by the way. If you guys were at Florida ICSC last year, you saw him. I'm going to let him introduce some resources that I think are really awesome for the crowd.
Okay, so I always feel like I've been coming to this conference probably for 40 years, and I want to go home with one good idea. This slide is your one good idea. You need to be better at AI. We already raised our hands, we're all using AI, so we're all probably lifetime learners in this room. That's why you showed up at 9 o'clock to listen to a talk while everybody else is nursing their hangover. And this is how you do it, okay? So on the right-hand side of the slide is a 2-hour torturesome video on YouTube from Andre Carpathy. You should be listening to Andre Carpathy because he taught the class at Stanford. Then he went on for 7 years to help self-driving cars at Tesla. He's a reasonably intelligent guy. And then he started a little company called OpenAI with Elon Musk and Sam Altman. So this is hard. Your head will hurt. This 2-hour video would be the basis for the course we would teach at Cornell Engineering, or the Cornell Real Estate Program, or USC's Real Estate Program. Like, this is how you would in today's environment learn to use LLMs. You don't need to know calculus, you don't need to know statistics, you don't need to know linear algebra. You need to know how to use these things, okay, not how to create them. And Andre is a great creator, but he's going to tell you how to use it. The second video is another great how do I use these things, and part of what an AI can do is it's all about how you prompt it. And if you can prompt well, then you can get really interesting answers out of the AI. And one way to prompt well is to write a reoccurring program. We call it a GPT. And Hillary Gridley, who's the head of marketing at Whoop, and she's a superstar lady, but right now she's on maternity leave. But she does some online classes, and this 1 hour video is how to write your own GPT. So you come up with the greatest idea in the world for AI, refine it into a GPT, and it's always there for you to use. Background on people you're meeting with, analyzing. Hillary analyzes all the slides that her team members bring her, and it points out in advance of her meeting with them what mistakes they make based on Hillary's slide review ideas. Okay, so these two videos, here's your one good idea. Dwayne gave me 20 to 30 hours of homework in 2 videos, but now I will be proficient in AI. You will be in the top 1% of the planet if you can work through these 2 things. There was your one good idea. Why did you come to ICSC in Orlando this year? Because you wanted to learn how to be good at AI.
Awesome, thank you. Doug, you have one of the most interesting ways I've heard to sort of segregate the groups of people and their impact to AI impact on different groups of people in commercial real estate. Why don't you take us through that?
So my background, I mentioned big, large automotive companies I've worked with. Well, all of them use the Six Sigma process before they ever implement anything. So when I got into this industry, got into this from looking at the broker's perspective. And so now I own a brokerage. Cute story, I took the course to get my license and I failed, so I bought a brokerage. A little different approach, but it worked. But I looked at the
I got a 99.
You did.
I got it at 18, my license, and 19, my broker's license, but it's okay.
How much brokering do you do now? Enough said.
Touché.
So my point is
A lot.
So my point is that I got into this and I looked at the processes from an outside view of what we have to go through to actually come up and find a property. Because that's what everybody's here to do, right? You're here at ICSC because you're trying to do deals. And that's what I keep hearing that they're doing. Whether you're on the land, owning the land, or you're brokering the land, or you're trying to get your franchise out, whatever. Everybody's here trying to find a deal. That's what most people are doing. So we went through a Six Sigma process and we mapped out all the steps you have to go through to actually take and acquire a piece of property. And then we looked at all the people that were in the process. So you got an attorney, you've got the other broker, you've got the guy that's selling it, the person that's selling it, you got the person buying it. Now you got to manage all these different people that are in this process. And so we started looking at this and we said, okay, where do you start? And the very first thing we found out was you got to find the dirt. And in Florida, with 4% vacancy rates, it's really, really hard. So what we did was, the first thing we did was we said, let's look at how do you find the dirt and then what is the data that goes into it. So we went and built a site selection tool. A lot of people call them a site selection tool. But what we now have is what we call agentic AI on that tool. So there's a lot of things you can do with ChatGPT and things like that, but what agentic AI allows you to do, it actually says, I want to go find a gas station in Zephyr Hills. It'll literally drop down the 5 or 6 different priorities that you actually put in there to say, hey, is it location to a competitor? Is it traffic patterns? Is it zoning? What are those things that are priorities? So it's the model that you guys look at to actually acquire a particular piece of property can be put into the agentic AI, and now we just drop down a list of what's available.
What's Six Sigma?
Six Sigma is a Toyota process. So what it does is you go through and you map out all your processes, and you map out all the different people that are actually touching that. So it's just something that Toyota uses for all their work, and so everybody in the auto space, the supply chain work, actually uses it. So I always
It's a standard deviation, 6 standard deviations from the mean.
Yes,
Almost never goes wrong.
almost. But it still does.
And how do we use Six Sigma in real estate? We're like 6 standard deviations from the mean. Like we're all here, we're all 1 or 2 standard deviations.
You're never going to get that close. Okay. Don't even try it.
Okay,
All right.
good.
But the other part about the Six Sigma process, when you're looking at AI, I would definitely encourage you, sit down and map out the processes you currently have and how do you want to optimize. Then look at what AI or any automation can do. Now you can have a better application of the AI and actually predict what your outcomes are going to be better with that. So that's what we've ultimately done with our site selection tool, is we put all the different data points that you need to look at, it will provide you a model, and now you can actually go in and say, I'm just looking for a location for a Wawa, and here's the best locations in that particular area for you. Some things that it allows you to do, also we've seen this happen, is we brought in some young brokers, and right, this is an industry that's, a lot of people, we're trying to get younger people into it. It takes them a long time to get to where they're profitable. We've brought in young brokers, now they can talk about why that particular location is important, what's valuable about that, and they can have a much better conversation with the end buyer on that. So we've seen immediate feedback and immediate improvements on the whole process.
Doug, can you very quickly touch on your theory about replace, harness, build? Do you remember that?
What was that again?
The 3 people that AI is either going to replace.
Oh,
or
yes.
use it to harness
Okay,
or
so
build.
here's my other thing, and this is kind of, when I first started doing these presentations a year ago, and you probably found the same thing, I sat down and said, hey, 3 things, you're going to be in one of 3 things with AI. You're either going to get run over by AI, or you're going to figure out how to control it, or you're going to build it. So there are people that we build. I have 7 different developers that are all AI developers, right? So, I don't have to go to Dwayne's thing. I just call my guy and say, go build the ChatGPT. That's what I do. But if you're in that process of trying to figure that out, I would definitely say, you need to say, where do you want to fit? Because it's going to run over you. That's where it's going to happen. Or if you got to figure out what your processes are and figure out what AI you can pick up to actually improve your process. Or you can step into the development side of it. Because there's a lot of AI tools out there that people have built, just had a ChatGPT, and they're actually taking them to market all the time.
Let's switch to the brand side with Andrew. So tell us a little bit about OneRec, your company, and then how you're supporting brands, all facets of expansion, vendors, partnerships, and how you're integrating more and more AI into those resources.
Yeah, for sure. So I started OneRec 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and it kind of started with a blog. I just wrote very, very painful tactical deep dives of how to negotiate an LOI or how to use geospatial data to find and forecast site predictability. And I probably wrote over 200 pages worth of just stuff. And with the eventual goal of maybe I'll turn this into like a how-to business book someday. And then ChatGPT came out. I was like, holy shit, I can just pump this thing into here. Basically now I've essentially trained an AI assistant to be my own expansion coach, and then also to help other brands figure it out. Because I work with a lot of brands that have anywhere from 0 to 20 stores. And the questions they ask, as I'm sure they ask a lot of the people in the audience, are usually the same thing and can usually be answered with just now an AI tool. So what that eventually turned into was now a platform where you can go on and basically find, if you're interested in looking at Soho, for example, there's a destination page that will tell you all about Soho, who the shopper profile is, what the general market rents are, that I've partnered with local brokers to give me their rent comps. Basically help the brand just get educated on that site, ask questions with the AI assistant, and then once they decide, okay, yep, I'm interested in Soho, then it'll also share, here's vendors, here's an architect, here's a contractor, here's a broker, to get you from insight to action. So a lot of that, the flow is the same. Like I've run the same playbook for many, many brands, building their foundations and playbooks from scratch, and it is the same at its core, to the point where now I've essentially helped to automate that with just a string of different AI support tools to help from site selection, contract negotiation, general performance management of locations, and even organizational design.
Let's switch to the property side, Dwayne. Talk to us about how you're using AI more now for property side. And one of the really interesting examples that you gave was you have an anchor tenant that goes dark, how you're using AI to analyze replacements and look at a backfill deal.
So leasing is the backbone, the driver of the Woolbright business, right? So we need centers to be full. And Doug is correct that you are helped a great deal at leasing if you have data. So for example, you lose your big lots. And now you have a space that's, let's just say, larger than 25,000 feet, and you want to rent it to another big box user, and you quickly discover that if you're only going to do big box users that have 15 or more locations in Florida, there's only 82 of them. Okay, so you don't have that many to choose from. Those 82 companies have 6,000 locations in Florida, and every month they're opening 20 or 30 locations and they're closing 20 or 30 locations, and they're constantly committing to new locations about 18 months before you actually see that location. Right? So you can imagine trying to keep track of 6,000 existing stores, and let's just say in any given month, well, you're going to have 12 months of pre-opening locations that you're trying to keep track of. And gathering all of this data is really hard. So imagine printing out a list of the 82 boxes and knowing in the last 12 months, how many stores did Publix open? How many stores did Best Buy open? How many stores did Total Wine open? And it's very interesting because when you look at the 82, if you could get that data and you knew how many stores each of these last 82 people opened, you would quickly determine that 20% of these stores, 16 companies, are accounting for 80% of the openings. But you might not know who those 16 stores are. So you call your friend, right? Because that's who you usually lease to, is you lease to people you know, as opposed to more strategically, call the 16 companies that are driving the growth. And so this is, as Doug points out, a lot of using technology tools, it's about having the right data. So today, Placer AI is doing a better job of telling you where those 82 stores have their locations, what the footfall is, what their sales are. But they're not doing such a good job of telling you about the new deals that Ross committed to that won't open up for 18 months. So you're going to have to work a little bit harder to find this data. I know years ago that the woman that ran real estate at Chipotle would complain that 90% of the submittals she received were from brokers that were proposing a site less than a mile away from her current location, right? So people aren't doing their homework, and so Megan, AI is only going to be as helpful as the information Doug points out that it is. Getting the information is really hard and really expensive. We have 2 or 3 people just keeping track of where all those big boxes are. Now I will introduce one last thought. There are 250 empty boxes right now in Florida in the major metro areas of more than 20,000 feet. And we have an analyst, this poor guy, goes through all 250 shopping centers once a month to see which of you changed your site plan to that former Big Lots now has a Ross Dress for Less logo on it. And we know that Ross isn't open there yet because it's not on the Ross website. We know, though, that you're excited because you're going to fill those empty stores next to that former empty Big Lots. And so you put it there right away. And so our analyst would come back at the end of every month and say, I found the 20 new places. I know about them 18 months before they open. Now that's all done by AI. Okay, the AI can go to everybody's plan, can look at the plan, can figure it out. We love this guy. We've assigned him to do something else because it was taking him a week, and the AI can do it in an hour. Go through 250 centers' websites, look and see if that space is still empty. If it's not empty, who went in there? And these are the kinds of things that we're going to reimagine. But you're not firing people. You're redirecting those people to other more high-value tasks like we're doing here, which is meeting with each other and sharing ideas.
I want to throw a little curveball question. I'm going to actually ask it after I asked Doug something, but I want to remember to come back to that on the sort of the human factor. Doug, I mean, we talk about in the research community, I'm looking at a lot of our research friends here, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if data's not good going in, it's not going to be good coming out, and your insights are going to be wrong. With everything that you're doing and what you're seeing from the customer side and the customer insight side, tell us a little bit about your work, with customers' data and looking at personas and all the fun things that you're working on from the consumer side.
Yeah, there's this, so I'm going to kind of talk about one of the things in this whole process that I found is like, how do you guys find customers, right? Well, there's this thing called intent data that we have, and there's been players in that space come on board for a long time. So if you go out and type into your cell phone, I'm looking for a bourbon of some sort, you get advertisements, all kinds of bourbon. That's intent data. That's available for you to use today. So, for example, we had a very difficult type of property we were trying to sell, and we said, okay, who's interested in that type of an asset today? Not who you bought in the past, but who did you buy, and who bought this, who's looking for this right now? Probably not in your Rolodex, probably not going to find it here, because it was an office park we had, right? So we went out, and we found, using intent data, over 100 people that were in the market today, okay? And then we went out and did just a simple email campaign out to those 100. We had 84 people open that email because of intent data. Then we had 40 people we engaged with and we got an offer. We only did one, right? So that's another tip I will give you. Search what intent data is if you're looking for customers or looking for people to buy your spots. That is a big, powerful tool you have. And then get these CRM technology behind it to automate all that. And the CRM tools that are out there, don't go cheap on them. Because if you go the cheap ones, you're going to be frustrated with them. But actually invest and do some research on what your processes are and what you want to automate. Because I did a whole bunch of research on CRM tools and managing your customers and all that. There's really nothing designed for everybody in this room.
Love that intent data. I'm going to use that. I'll give you credit. So I am going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at all of you. This is a topic of conversation, and I'm looking at some people in this room that I've been having this conversation with. You know, the older generation in our business, you know, who was always responsible for training and bringing up new brokerage talent, supporting new brands, you know, it was that wisdom, it was the mentorship, it was all of that. So how do we balance as an industry now training and grooming and mentoring the up-and-comers, the next gen in our business, with still that tactile, hands-on, you know, sort of let me train you, let me help you, with, hey, go look it up in ChatGPT, or, you know, the analyst probably learned a lot going through those site plans, you know, when he used to have to do that, now AI does it. So how do you still get that point of contact and that point of training and mentorship? So I'll go to Dwayne and Doug, and then I want to come back and pivot it a little bit on the brand side for.
So that's a great question, right? Lifetime learners, how are we going to expand those channels? You know, not everybody tortures you and makes you watch a 2-hour video from Andrea Kaparthy, the professor at Stanford, but of course you're at Woolbright, you're going to get tortured. We did, with our summer associates, we did 2 books for book club. We sat down and read Ray Kroc's history of McDonald's, grinding it out, right? You want to grow your business, find sites, you know, and then we did Made in America with Sam Walton. And so you've got, you know, and why was Sam successful? What did he do? And so the AI is not going, I mean, there's so many things, interpersonal interactions, that the AI can't do, right? You think of how many solicitation emails or texts that you get that you're not going to respond to. You need a warm introduction. Somebody needs to say, hey, I know Doug, I can introduce you to Doug, let me set this up for you two to talk, right? And so, you know, the training is around those things. Strengthen the areas. We had a new associate starting, and she was working on a training project, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm abstracting the lease. I'm like, that's a horrible use of your time. That's an AI project. Like, you can't possibly do abstracting a lease. This is like, oh, I'm gonna go play the computer in chess. You can't win, okay? Like, I'm gonna play in poker. Just forget that, it's an AI. Go get a Neuralink chip. You'll win every poker tournament. So let's do the things that we can do that they can't do. Because we're facing a tsunami of machine intelligence. Elon Musk estimates that 99% of the intelligence on the planet will live with the machines. We're like 1. Okay, and there's going to be a wave of robots. Okay, like my Tesla already drives me. Hopefully, it'll get me back home safe today. And but robots are coming too. So how are we going to live in a world of the machines have all the intelligence and the robots are coming? And the thing is, they're still going to need you. Okay, you're still going to need to go out. I find getting leases done are best done through canvassing, meeting that small business owner that has the pizza shop. They didn't wake up today wanting a second pizza shop. You take your car into the Dwayne's Auto Repair Shop for an oil change, you're going home with a new car, okay? You woke up with a pizza business, you got 2 today. You just didn't see me coming in and doing the canvassing. And that can't be done by AIs. That's done by humans. And if you have those skills, and, or you have the technology skills to map out how the AIs can come into the process and help, you got to be in one of those two areas: strong analytics or strong interpersonal skills.
Doug, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, remember I mentioned I've been in this technology world for a long time. So I remember when we had this thing called client server. Okay, that's when we got away from this thing called a mainframe. If anybody remembers those things, okay? The government still runs a lot of them. Well, when we did
I
that...
filled out punch cards.
Yeah, okay, I did too, so that's the last time I coded anything. But my point is that didn't change. We still have human intervention. It's not going to change. Then we came to everybody's going to go cloud computing. Everybody's going to be connected to the internet. We're all connected, right? Everybody's got a computer in their pocket. We communicate on all the different social medias. That's how we get, we don't barely advertises on the commercials anymore. They're all doing like Instagram stuff, and they're all kind of posting all different stuff. All we're doing is changing the medium. That's all we're really doing. We're never get the human part out of it, all right? Now, a question I always like to ask people: do you believe AI will have emotions? All right, think about that. All right, it is very close to the Terminator, right? I mean, it's coming. We think it could have emotions. Well, there are people trying to get emotions into the AI to make it very much more personal. So I'm sure everybody's got phone calls from some AI bot. Well, if you think about how they worked a couple of years ago, they were very clunky. You could immediately heard them say, "Yep, that's an AI bot." Now, I'm going to tell you, they sound like they have emotions. So we're never going to get away from the human part of this, but younger generation, they're used to doing everything on this thing in their pocket. So we've got to figure out how to get our technology bring to that. That's how we're going to get the knowledge.
I want to jump in real quick because I want to ask Andrew something too. So the AI is evolving very quickly. And yesterday I was driving along a pouring rainstorm, and some people have been complaining that my wipers were old and I should change them. And so I asked the AI, "Hey, it's a Tesla. I have a hard time getting parts for a Tesla. There's a bunch of turkeys. You gotta fill out the app, and they don't want to even talk to you if you show up at the store without filling out the app." It's okay. I'm a persistent guy. And the AI came back and said, "Well, you can get the 28-inch and the 18-inch wiper blades for your Model S at any auto parts store. I highly recommend the Bosch Ion brand because it outperforms even the Tesla OEM brand." Okay. I ended up being in Claremont, pulled into the Tesla service center. The guy was very nice, and I don't know how he magically came up with 2 wiper blades I left for $59. I've never left a Tesla place for anything that cheap. But notice that the AI is already aware of stuff and making recommendations of who you should use. Now let's go to another thing. I replaced my Tesla car tires again at the dealer. They're like, I asked the AI afterwards because I'm a moron. "Hey, what do you think of those Goodyear tires that they put on?" "Oh, those are shit. They're 3.5 stars rated. You should have had the 4.5 Michelin rated. They'll do much better in the rain." I'm like, Michelin blank, 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 blank. Okay, so what does the AI, when some tenant is saying, "Who should I call to find my new pizza shop?" Okay, I want to know because it's already made up its mind what wiper blades I should be using, what tires should be on my car. How do you change how the AI is making up its mind? Andrew, this goes to your branding and whatever, because if it's telling me I should buy X, Y, or Z, because how am I even influencing what OpenAI or Grok or Perplexity is kicking back? Because I think there's going to be a whole industry baked around making sure that when Blackstone looks for a recommendation of who should we invest $100 million with in Florida, I sure want Woolbright to come up on that list, okay? So,
yeah, if you think about the way these LLMs work, and I'm not an AI expert, I'm just an avid user and fan, my understanding is that it's not too dissimilar from how SEO works, to the point where there's a lot of companies that will help you do SEO specifically to get picked up by AI models that are scraping the web. And I don't know how it works, but it's a different
at some point I could imagine, because of the reinforcement learning, I could pay OpenAI. They haven't done this yet, but I can pay Google to appear here on the thing.
Yeah, I really hope it doesn't get there, but I think it can. And I think and one of the reasons why with my site,
It's like the most significant tool. So how are you kind of balancing that with your brand advisory work in terms of, yes, use all these tools, but there's still that element. You have to go see the site. You have to physically touch, the store locations, etc.
yeah, I mean, great question. And so the tools that I provide are candidly like a lot of the AIs I built were specifically so that I could stop wasting my time educating in my pitches. And basically said, why don't you just talk to my AI assistant, get the core basic questions out of the way, and then talk to me when you're ready to actually have a real conversation about the nuances that you need to be aware of. And so when you're looking at, when you're talking with a brand, when they say they want to open a store in wherever, the kind of core criteria of what a good decision looks like varies by brand, to the point, and even within a brand and among the people. So when I ask somebody who comes to me and says, I'd like to open a store, how do I do it? I will first ask them, well, what's your success criteria? Is it a payback metric? Is it an IRR metric? What does success look like? And they don't really have an answer most of the time. And so what I've found is the AIs that I've created and the content and the education I've created is really to get them up to a level where I can actually finally have a meaningful conversation with them. And then we can navigate those nuances and kind of help them figure out even what are the right questions you should be asking yourselves as you're contemplating a store. So that's kind of piece one. And then piece two, I would say is, and I was talking to somebody about this last night, I put out an enormous amount of really, really comprehensive guides that some people have asked, why don't you charge for it? And what I found is even if you put the stuff out there for free and you share how to do it, they still don't know how to do it. So they still need somebody to actually execute it. And so I found I don't mind giving it away for free because ultimately they still need to hire somebody to go do it. The execution,
yeah, executing is. So let's start looking forward. I've said this to someone yesterday. I said, I wake up in the morning and I think I know what I know about AI, and it's completely changed and is completely obsolete by the time I shut my computer down at night because it's moving so fast. So Andrew, we'll start with you and we'll go down the line. Talk to us about what you're seeing specifically for retail properties, retail brands, properties, and then the consumer, kind of what's next for AI. And you can take 2 days, 24 months, 5-year horizon, whatever's relevant.
Yeah, I think in the short term, so when I think about the deployment of AI for retail brands, I think of it in kind of 3 buckets. There's the front of house, which is directly consumer facing. There's the back of house, which is just, we use ChatGPT to negotiate an LOI or read an LOI. And then everything in between that connects consumers to the back of house. So somebody I was talking to a couple weeks ago, they deployed AI in their stores so that a customer can basically click a button that says I need help, and then it uses some AI thing to find the closest person to come help you, or to text you. And so I say all that because I think right now, a lot of AI for retailers is in the back end. People are afraid to put it out there to customers because it's unpredictable, it's often wrong, and people don't fully understand it even internally. But I'm beginning to see a lot more efforts to push it towards the front end, but it's very, very expensive because you have to have somebody who actually knows how to manage it, control it, program it. But I'm beginning to see it replace a lot of humans on customer service and sales. And it's really interesting ways too. So one of my buddies started a company called Envive, shameless plug for him. And what they do is a customer can go on the website and say, I need an outfit for a wedding on Cape Cod in the summer. And it will basically scrape the website, build your cart for you for that wedding, and then say, hey, you can click buy now. So I think there's going to be a lot more stuff like that because it's directly revenue generating, but it's going to be expensive because it has to be controlled, and the ecosystem is it's changing so quickly. I think you said today, AI, when we woke up, is different than AI right now. It's moving at such a rapid pace.
I'll give you an update from the keynote talk I gave a year ago, just where I see AI. So the first most important area is in the programming. So Doug has some tools. We Andrew mentioned some tools. You have to have coders write these software applications, and more of that coding is going to be done by AI. The heavy lifting, the AI is going to get better and better. So just sort of a Moore's law for AI improvement. Every 18 months, it sort of doubles in its capacity. So coding is my first area. Second thing is all the graphic design, all the video generation, images, renderings for, oh gosh, we're going to put your new coffee shop in place of this Bank of America branch. Well, the AI, we don't have a picture where one of our centers has a dirty roof or a parking space that's empty. They're all AI generated, right? The videos, you see such cool videos now on your TikTok or whatever. You can convey to people your idea about your project without having somebody spend $1 million and make a really cool video. You can now engineer that on your own. So design, but also design will morph into, I need plans for this Starbucks, and the AI will generate the Starbucks, and the building department will review the plans, right? So all of that will be automated fairly quickly. Everything in leasing, everything in legal, everything from lease abstracts, generating leases, generating LOIs, all of that's going to happen. In leasing, this is my plot pin, shameless thing, whatever. So this is my AI note taker, but it's great to, on every sales pitch I make, you can go back, review my sales pitch, say what I should have done better, what I shouldn't have done better, because it's easy to have a transcription of everything you're doing, and in fact, it'll do it in real time and say, here's the 3 questions you forgot to ask. So leasing is going to, not only are you going to know who are the 18 boxes you should be calling, okay, but your pitch is going to get better and better because you're going to finally improve. It's like videoing your golf swing, how you do better at that stuff. And then in acquisitions, yes, it'll read all those leases, it'll build your Argus models for you, it will compare your Argus model to the OM. But at the end of the day, convincing somebody to sell you their $100 million shopping center is not going to be done by an AI, okay? So the AI is going to be doing lots of support stuff. And finally then in this training area, I literally just see the AI almost conducting robust classes where it's leading discussions and dialogues and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be everywhere. Study this stuff. If my wife, when she graduated from university in early 1980s, everybody drew the architectural plans by hand. My wife studied architecture. And very quickly, every architect had to transform to using AutoCAD. Okay? You guys are in the same transformation. You can't draw the plans by hand. Bad news. I know they look really nice. You got to learn AutoCAD. You got to learn this stuff. And the faster you learn it, and accept the fact that this is what it is to be an architect, and you kind of are the architects of real estate. This is just what we showed up one day, this was coming, and it's here.
Doug?
There's going to be an impact on us as consumers from a sheer cost, because we have 11,000 data centers today, and it's projected to be 30,000 within the next 5 years. And those all take this thing called electricity. We have an aging grid that's 25-year-old tech in it. So we've got some issues. That's going to cost somebody somewhere, and we all know it's going to hit the consumer, right? When it comes to impact of AI, and
just so you know, Doug, when you get 1 million tokens, okay, all the cost was in the NVIDIA chips. The electricity is like a penny, just so you know. Okay? It's going to cost money because they're going to burn up lots and lots of gigawatts. They're going to burn up 10% of the U.S. electric grid, and they can buy a lot of solar panels and build nuclear plants because they're making a lot of money with this stuff. But it's all, the cost is, okay.
It's all there. So anyway, the other thing is, and I can just give you examples of what we did. I had a large number of brokers last year. We literally changed that around, and we did AI with everything. So AI is in our CRMs, it does the outbound calls, it does the follow-ups, it does all the things that you would typically do to interact up until you actually need to have a human being. There is always going to be some human being that's going to know the nuances of what has to go on in some sort of way. So that's one of the things. One of the other things that I heard about this in the universities, how it's impacting universities. There was a professor, I mentioned this before I started up, they've literally, one particular university has taken out all the freshmen and sophomore professors, which are usually like student professors or adjunct professors, and they replaced them with AI. So if you look at what we did 2 years ago, you actually see like an AI of a human being and he talk to you, that technology can be brought to you in a Canva, right? So now a professor, he can put all of his published works in there, everything he's going to teach you out of the book, and literally interact with you through the AI and to teach thousands of students where he can only teach a couple hundred before.
Okay, shameless plug though, I'm supporting Catherine Project. We read really hard books online, like War and Peace. And I'm going to tell you, reading War and Peace with the AI is not as much fun with talking to 12 smarty pantses. So I'm still in favor of those professors talking because the AI isn't as fun as the 12 smarty pantses in my book club.
So we're almost at time. Is there a question from the audience? Probably several, but it's the last day of the conference, so it might be quiet. James
Brave
Cook.
soul, come on, man.
James Cook.
So I'm a researcher, so my job is to discover the truth or my best approximation to it. I am all in on using all of the AI tools, and I have to fact check them all because, pardon my French, 20% is bullshit, and it speaks that with utter confidence, like this is absolutely the truth. And then you say, no, that's wrong. And it's like, oh, you're right. It's actually this. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. Oh, you're right. It's this. So trust, I think, is the big thing. How do you approach that? How do you approach making sure it's not BS in the tools that you use?
It comes back to the data, all right? Where is the AI pulling its data from? So if you have the data in a trusted environment, and that's what we've done, we don't go to the outside the internet. We have all the data we have for everything we've done. We've bought that, put it in our own database. Now, I'm going to tell you, that is an expensive proposition, but you've got to control the data.
But if you're a lawyer and you're writing a brief, you're going to search the internet and the thing's going to hallucinate, right? But probabilistically, 3 or so versions from now, down the road, we're going to shrink the error rate. It costs huge amounts of money to lower by 1 order of magnitude the error rate. You have to increase the training time. It's like something like 10 to the 24th. So, but they're going to go there. They're going to figure it out.
I would also add, I think some bullshit is okay. Because, and it's funny, I've used AI to pose questions or answer questions of like, what's the market rent in Soho? And I did a poll on LinkedIn and I put in what the AI told me, what I know it to be, and then I just made up 2 other ranges. And it was just as voted as the likely rent versus the real rent. And so, and then the other kind of thing is like, half of the stuff people say is bullshit too. So the standard is, the standard is not that high to at least be as good as a human in my mind. Now, if you're doing research, that's different, but that's what I found.
I wanted to ask Doug, you mentioned CRMs. Can you give us some ideas of some good CRMs, and is Salesforce one of them?
No. I've actually broken bread with Benny off, and I would tell him the same thing. He's actually taken everything he's doing with Salesforce from his code and now doing everything with AI, okay? It is designed for the executives who bought that for huge enterprise corporations. That's what he designed it for, and that's his business model. There is one that we actually do, and we white labels called Go High Level, right? It's pretty inexpensive. It's designed by AI engineers, and it's very easy to configure, but it is a monster. It is everything Salesforce is, and you just got to get into it. So if you go to that route, that is one you're going to have to configure, you have to work on. That's just one.
And another recommendation is HubSpot, so just consider that.
So we are actually 19 seconds over, and big apologies to ICSC for all the S words that were said today. Not planned. Anyway, thank you to the panel, Andrew, Dwayne, Doug. Thank you to the audience. Please join us on